Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, illegal immigration entities are laughing at American blacks overall. Let me repeat that. This topic today is called illegal immigration entities are laughing at American blacks overall. There are just things that just cannot be shown enough, and especially like topics like this. So let me just go ahead and get into this particular video about what we're going to talk about, because it's such a major topic that's not talked about enough. Mm, I have to play that. I have to play this one additional time. I had to play this one additional time on that type of video. Let me play it one more time. And you see yourself just popping off at on that van. You see they just ran off. Just run off and just running off. Hmm. Look at that. Just look at that. Mm, mm. Supremacy, the most brilliant mental manipulation force that has ever existed. They are brilliant because, especially among millions of American blacks overall, have not found how to reduce or stop supremacy from being supremacists over millions of American blacks overall. And then for supremacists to use such infantile but brilliant mental manipulation tactics upon millions and millions of African and Native blacks is brilliant. Because there are quite a number of illegal immigration entities that every day they sit there among each other and sit there and just be laughing at the easiness to themselves to say, wow, the African ancestors, Native blacks, or they say American blacks, or they say black folks, they've been here longer than most other cultures in America. They have been in the country longer than most other personnel within America. The main cultures within the country for generations was under the category of white, the category of black, and the category of what we've been told is Native Americans. Those are the three main demographics. What we want to call Asians wasn't even a conversation piece like that. Generations and generations and generations ago, that wasn't even a conversation piece within the country like that. You say, well, what about the Hispanics? Again, when you say the word Hispanics, that wasn't even a conversation in the America generations and generations and generations ago. Because you would have not seen a gigantic amount of Asians or Hispanics on the East Coast. You would have not seen a gigantic amount of Asians and Hispanics on the West Coast. You certainly would have not seen a lot of Asians and Hispanics in the southern states, northern states. What they got to do we talking about? Because here's the thing about, again, just as you have good people within Asian culture, you have bad. Just as you have numbers of good people, and then within Hispanic culture, you have bad ones. Just as you have illegal immigrants in parts of Asian cultures, like you have illegal immigration, border breaking personnel in Hispanic culture. Right? It ain't just one look person. Now there's more of a certain section more within certain type of Hispanic culture, right? But you got people that act like that really doesn't happen or want to really minimize that. Don't care about that person's feelings or their emotions against reality. I make this point because it is vileness and it's disgusting how these illegal immigration entities that break immigration laws every day. Every day. There's not a day that continuously goes by where border breaking illegal immigration personnel don't sit back and laugh and crack up that they know they're breaking border immigration laws. There's not a day that goes by that illegal immigration entities, organizations, etc., that are also vile because they want open borders. It's an agenda or agendas. They care nothing about the American blacks. They can care nothing about them. See, supremacists, again, is the most brilliant mental manipulation force that has ever existed. See, I can't keep saying this enough. Can American blacks break immigration laws in another country, be it southern parts of borders, go across different oceans? Can they break border immigration laws? Well, let's say that's not. Well, that's ocean that separates those. So there's not a border going across the Pacific Ocean or the Atlantic Ocean. So that's not necessarily a border on that. But can they sit there and break, say, southern borders, various parts of southern borders? Can American blacks break immigration laws and say, some nonsensical part that, we only want to go across certain parts of southern borders because we're going to do the jobs that they can't do? Or better yet, let me ask them. They say, well, the American blacks say, well, we're more educated than a lot of people across those different borders. That ain't going to fly, is it? Because they say, wait a minute, those black folks still breaking immigration laws. They're taking our jobs. They're trying to get some kind of resources that is being taken away from our citizens and people who have legal right to work in various parts of southern border areas and states. And definitely, you think various type of political personnel various parts of southern states are going to sit across southern border states, across southern border, going to other countries. Do you think they're going to sit there and jump up and down and fall all over chairs, political way, trying to sit there and help American blacks breaking immigration laws? Do you think they're going to sit back and sit there and watch American blacks sitting there protesting in another country, talking about, we're all humans and all this kind of stuff? Like, you think they're going to sit there and tolerate that nonsense? Of course not. But that's exactly what millions of African and Native blacks do every day, except border breaking illegal immigration personnel doing their thing. He said, what they got to do with me? If you don't know what that means, then I can't even help you on that. See, the brilliance of supremacy knows that there must be a culture that is designated as a culture to be bullied. And the American blacks have been designated by supremacy as a culture that is to be bullied into perpetuity, infinite. And then now you're going to sit there and add even more border breaking illegal immigration personnel to the mix. See, it's not just, the personnel that don't know, in the 80s, there was a last major formal illegal immigration amnesty that with just like that, with magic wand, whoop, 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 millions of border breaking illegal immigration personnel were then had either the legal right to stay in the country, just like that. Millions. I think it was 1986 Immigration Act that gave millions of border breaking illegal immigration personnel basically the legal right to be then within a country. Just like that. Which then opens up more resources to them. And at the same time, that 1986 Immigration Act was supposed to be one of the last major corrections to securing the border. Is the border secure now? Of course it's not. Of course it's not. So here it is, almost a couple of generations later, and you still got every day border breaking illegal immigration personnel sitting there laughing, come across those southern borders, left and right, or going from the southern areas of southern cities, going to El Norte, going to the north, and breaking immigration laws and coming to the United States, laughing. Oh, we're trying to escape violence. And most people don't even ask the question, especially among millions of African ethnic blacks. Well, who is producing violence upon you? How do they look? Right? Because logical analysis is saying, wait a minute, those personnel look just like you, don't it? Border breaker, illegal immigration personnel, they look just like you, right? Is it the American blacks in those southern areas or border places? Are those American blacks sitting there treating you like crap? Violence upon you? Of course not. But see, many people don't sit there and call it that nonsense, especially numbers of millions of American blacks, African ethnic blacks. Just sit there and look the other way like ain't nothing going on. Well, forget that. I'm doing my thing then. I got my own thing going on. That's fine. No other culture on this damn planet, overall, sit there and look at things like that. They understand first and foremost, it is about cultural self-preservation first. You do not sit there and especially help border breaking illegal immigration personnel, indirectly or directly, sit there and go above you. That's like almost like playbook page 2. And there are numbers of African ethnic blacks will sit there and jump up and down for border breaking illegal immigration personnel when their ancestral personnel been in this country a lot longer than many other cultures again even existed. But you got numbers of millions of African ethnic black personnel got to still help everybody else out first. And this illegal immigration thing right there is very vile. Because again, you have personnel that are breaking immigration laws, and then they have this child, that child, this child. And what happens then, people, for the ones who don't know, some ones who do know, they understand, the ones who are breaking those border immigration laws, because they already been told what to do. They already been told and how to do things. So then what happens, that person has this child, that child, this child, that child. What happens then? Bam! Automatic citizenship, thanks to the 14th Amendment Constitution, that was supposed to be dealing with blacks and giving final citizenship to black folks. The 14th Amendment Constitution. Around 1868 time frame. So what's the 13, 14, 15 minutes of the Constitution supposed to be about dealing with black folks having some type of a piece of corrective rejustice? A piece, which did not overall. So you got the 14th Amendment Constitution, 14th Amendment Constitution that's supposed to be dealing with black folks, giving basically final citizenship to the American blacks. You're talking around 1868. And you're talking about generations and generations and generations now. You got border breaking, illegal immigration personnel, and some others, but we're talking about illegal immigration personnel right now that are breaking border immigration laws, and they've been told, hey, man, just the other person, just say, hey, just have a child, this child, that child, this child, and there'll be automatic citizenship. What? Wow. And they break border immigration laws laughing. Oh, you have a child already? This child, that child? That's fine. Well, you just get additional resources. They'll sit there and give you some food stamps. What is that? Oh man, this is just free. No, they give you this and give you that. You can have this now. They give this free food, something like that. That's a little. They had this little card, or they may have something else, and you get free this and free food and free that, and then that child, and especially the one that you didn't have or will have. Oh man, that child or children, should I say? Oh man, they get this free medical and free dental for a long time. What? Yes. Yes. And I don't have to be a citizen? Nope. I don't have to be legal? Nope. Wow. And they're going right up to El Norte to break those immigration laws and laughing at American blacks overall that don't even know this game. Let me play something else for you, because I'm going to try to make this one real small. Okay? This show, I'm not trying to make this one long today, but I'm trying my best to get this one out the way today on that. I just want to talk about this topic of illegal immigration and how illegal immigration personnel entities, should I say, sitting there laughing every day at the American blacks about millions that don't even know what's going on. Because right now, what's happening is the American blacks only have, again, half a generation to one generation left. Let me say this again. The American blacks only have half a generation to one generation left for complete overall destruction of any type of cultural unification. Half a generation, one generation left. And it's not going to go past one generation. I stand by that. I'm not talking about literally stand by that, right? But I'm talking about stand by that to say half a generation, one generation left, the American black folks will not survive overall as any type of cultural unity. Because first of all, there is too many internal problems going on within the culture. And then you add in too many sellouts going on. And then you add personnel that want to sit there and allow this disgusting, vile, vitriol, word switchery thing of allowing people to sit there and water down Pacific American blackness, because the American black is their own cultural identity of American blackism. Have their own cultural context of no comparisons. The achievements of the American blacks is legendary. The bravery of the American blacks in the service parts, legendary. And people are going to sit there and allow border breaking legal immigration personnel to sit there and go bypass them. And they put that stuff in check. What an insult to the foremothers and forefathers over generations that went through all this kind of stuff. And even right now, you still have numbers of living history, American black men and black women that were still around in, say, the 30s, 40s, that remember that they were still alive, or they was around in the 50s when formal segregation was still going on. Formal segregation that was going on. Formal segregation or formal racial segregation that was still going on toward the American blacks. This was after World War II. And still going on during the what? Korean War. Where did I say anything about illegal immigration personnel? That people are concerned about them? Because that wasn't even a conversation like that. Not in that kind of way, obviously. There was no segregation for border breaking illegal immigration personnel because you still got people's eyeballing within various parts of predominant-based culture, sitting there still eyeballing the American blacks. And certainly, there would have been no conversation overall about what you want to call Asians. Not in that kind of way. And don't even think, I'm going to sit there and say something about when people want to play this little thing about the Exclusionary Act where certain Asians don't even play that game, because I'm asking you which one you're talking about. Because there are certain Asians that wouldn't even thought of, right? You know, in the mid 1900s, wouldn't even thought of. So you can stop playing a game with somebody else, or you can play a game with somebody else. Even the Asian demographic right now is still small. So you can play the game with somebody else when somebody wants to play that game. I'm not that person. And so I want to say the illegal immigration vitriol vile game is brilliant. And it is going to be one of the finish them, the American black moves that they're going to do toward the American blacks overall, and finish them up with illegal immigration personnel. Because it's not a question of the old proverbial when, if it is when they are going to sit there and give again. So 1986 to coming up somewhere very, very soon, where they're going to sit there and say, let's go ahead and make, we got enough illegal immigration personnel to sit there and take care of some different agendas coming up that many American blacks don't realize what we're doing. They don't realize what we're doing. They keep sitting there thinking because you got a few little American blacks that what you want to call successful, that means that's supposed to mean something to us. Supremacists like, and you still don't control jack crap. You got those American blacks walking around talking about, I went to this certain colleges. Who accredited those schools? American blacks? Of course not. So that person can jump into a lake with that nonsense. Oh, you driving a very nice, expensive car, which is nothing wrong with that. Or a very luxurious car. Hey, the person can afford it and enjoy it. Nothing wrong with that. But unfortunately, numbers of American blacks are very show-off-ism. Unfortunately. And so then here we go. Logical analysis. See, the question I'll ask, okay, the one that show-off-ism, who made that nice luxurious car? Was it American blacks? You drive around trying to sit there and trying to impress. Who are you trying to impress? Other blacks. Because you don't sit there and impress people within a predominant-based culture. They don't care what you driving. And you certainly not impressing Asians who, however many don't care about American blacks, and however many Hispanic person don't give a 2 cents of a paca-chaca tail about American blacks either. So how many American blacks are trying, who are they trying to impress? Other blacks. So the little small amount, almost like minuscule on the bigger scale that supremacists know, it's such a small scale, they don't even get it. Some small amount of successful black folks, and you got numbers that don't think that's supposed to be a representation of the overallness of American blacks? No one thinks like that, but numbers of American blacks overall. And again, that's why I'm going to say again, the American blacks overall only have about half a generation, one generation left. Because I'm telling you, especially illegal immigration is going to be the finishing move, or one of the finishing moves. And that's what I showed you that van, when that van situation with the illegal immigration border breaking personnel coming out of there. That ain't no round. That happens every day somewhere, or a vehicle and or non-vehicle that you have border breaking illegal immigration personnel that sit there and don't get caught. Sitting there laughing every day. Every day they're sitting there laughing. And the entity, illegal immigration pro-organizations that want this to happen, they're sitting there laughing at American blacks overall too. Because they said the American blacks don't even understand what's about to happen toward them. It's like a big old John historical tidal wave that's heading toward the American blacks overall, and they don't understand what's coming toward them overall as the overall people. Let me play this. Let me play this for you, Hero. Let me play this for you. Let me find something, Hero.
Illegal immigration is not only a burden on our environment and our population, but also our wallets. Especially in tough economic times, an additional financial burden is difficult to handle. The annual cost of illegal immigration is estimated at $113 billion to our nation's taxpayers. A proposal to allow illegal aliens permanent access to U.S. jobs makes no sense when you recognize that this would keep many current U.S. citizens from getting jobs. Not only can illegal immigration limit U.S. workers' job opportunities, but it can affect their income as well. Illegal immigrants are often paid less than their legal counterparts, leading not only to exploitation, but a lowering of wages and working conditions for everyone. Households headed by illegal aliens imposed more than $28.8 billion in costs on the federal government in 2009 and paid only $9.5 billion in taxes. This created an annual net fiscal deficit of almost $19.3 billion. Many companies that hire only legal workers are forced to compete with companies that undercut prices by hiring illegal workers. This threatens to force the responsible company out of business.
See, people don't quite understand. This is not any type of game. This is realistic situations going on. And the disgusting vileness of when I've heard myself, oh, they're just doing the jobs that, a lot of Americans don't want to do. Which Americans are you talking about? And what kind of jobs do most illegal immigrants do? What? You say agriculture? Jump into a freaking lake. You're a freaking lie. I can sit there and make a person look very elementary in that situation. It ain't just some kind of agriculture jobs that the illegal immigration personnel have been doing. And I'm not going to go into that on this show because there's some personnel who already know what I'm talking about, but quite a lot of people don't even realize a border breaker, illegal immigration personnel just don't work in some agricultural areas. That is a myth. And second of all, however many of them do not stay working in agriculture, they move on to other different places once they sit there and get themselves aggregated and cemented in certain parts of the country, because then they are told what to do and how to be able to do certain things once they are here. So I know the games extremely well. I know the game extremely well. Extremely well. I know those games. Or at least enough of the games. Because no person knows every single game they play. See, I don't need to know all that. See, I just know some of the good, basic, little nonsense of games they keep playing. And it's vile, right? Because again, can American blacks break immigration laws? Right? Can American blacks bring American black youth across various parts of the border, and then all of a sudden you got various type of political personnel across that border in different areas talking about, oh, they locking them up and put them in cages, the black youth? Nope. They ain't gonna sit there and play that disgusting game. And have you noticed that? You have not heard anything. Let me say this first. See, that's why I want to put these things in a historical timepiece before I play the last video, because I'm trying to make this show, like I said, very short, a little bit. See, have you noticed this? Again, this is a timepiece. That's why I do these shows too, as an historical timepiece. Because again, if it's 5 years down the road, 10 years, 20, 25 years, I'm around or not around. When somebody comes across this show 2 years from now, a year from now, 3.5 years from now, and somebody listen to the show and say, wow, well, he was kind of right what he was talking about. So I put these things like an historical timepiece because I see what's going to happen as much as possible. Because I see already that the historical, I'm not talking about literally seeing part, I'm talking about just seeing through this nonsensical game, discussing game that's being played. Because again, the question is not usually asked. Again, where are these illegal immigration personnel escaping from? And who is sitting there doing violence or political violence against them? Who is doing it? Basically, people that look like that person or personnel. And many people just let that nonsense bypass without checkmating them on that. Right? So that's what, again, I put some historical timepiece. Now here it is, the most hated, the most discriminated against, the most oppressed people in this country for generations have been the American blacks. And you got however political personnel and how type of border breaker, illegal immigration pro-entity personnel with that vileness can't stop trying to help a border breaker, illegal immigration personnel out first. That's an agenda. But American blacks can't get no reparations. Now, again, it's an unfortunate thing. You got too many sellouts. But I'm saying regardless, right? So various types of political personnel, other personnel can't find ways to give reparations to the American blacks, but they can find ways of sitting there helping out border breaking legal immigration personnel in however many different ways. Like what? I'm not going to sit there and go on all that. People can do their own research. For the people who do know, then they already know some of the stuff I'm talking about. For some of the other ones, then prove that what I'm saying is not true. Because it is true. However many programs out there, how many backdoor programs you might not even know about, how many things they keep trying to do for and will continue to do for border breaking illegal immigration personnel. Look, how many times have they been break border immigration laws and they sit there and get free flights to whatever parts of the country? How many of them get free bus rides to different other parts of the country on taxpayers' money by breaking border immigration laws and laughing? And laughing. Again, have you heard any time recently about them talking about, there's some other caravans coming up? Nope, you haven't heard that, have too much. They ain't stopped. Caravans have not stopped in the kind of way people think. They still come through whatever parts of, southern parts of, the borders, and from other parts, southern past that, come up through the north, go and break border immigration laws to go into the United States. That ain't stopped. Every day. Today is December the 15th, 2021. Yesterday, a few hours ago, whatever it is, every day people are breaking border immigration laws every day, laughing. And you got numbers of American black folks, millions of American blacks overall, but a few exceptions still allowing people to play this people of color game and minority bullcrap game. That's disgusting. See, again, dilution of a specific racial group as American blacks. Dilution, right? So by putting them in by putting millions of American blacks in a minorityness, word switcher category, putting millions of American blacks American blacks overall in a people of color word switchery, then what happens then? They dilute down anything specifically for American blacks. So they can say, people of color, we got to do people of color. Got to help people of color. We got to help minorities. People break immigration laws left and right? They can be considered minorities. And have anyway, I'm going to all that. And how many of them, just like other personnel, can be called people of color? Numbers of Asian personnel can be called minorities. Some can be called people of color. Numbers of Hispanic personnel can be called people of color. Numbers of Hispanic persons be called minorities. So who are they talking about? Dilution of American blacks. Brown and black. How many times people heard black and brown coalition? What a game. What a game. Because most people don't ask the question, what's brown people talking about? Are not many American blacks, do they not have different melanation phenotype color, right? From the beautiful darkest to the beautiful brown complexion to the high yellow. So they also there's a brown complexion within American blacks as well. So what's this talking about black and brown? See, this disgusting game is being played. So again, being this topic of illegal immigration entities are laughing at American blacks overall. Because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. So let me play this last video for you, because to me, I can't play this video enough.
We remain a hunted people. Now you think you have a destiny to fulfill in this land that historically has been ours for 40,000 years. And we're a new mestizo nation. This is our homeland. We cannot, we will not, and we must not be made illegal in our own homeland. We are not immigrants that came from another country to another country. We are migrants free to travel the length and breadth of the Americas because we belong here. We are millions. We just have to survive.
See the vileness. You got higher personnel that play, again, word switchery tactics. Migrants. So people that break border immigration laws now, how many of them are called migrants? So can American blacks break border immigration laws and be called migrants? Of course not. See, again, you got some good people in Hispanics. You got some good people in Asians. You got ones within certain parts of those cultures that can't stand American blacks. They can't stand American blacks. Right? And how many of them have border breaking illegal immigration personnel themselves? So who do you think they're going to sit there and be for? Say some family members that have some border breaking illegal immigration personnel, right? And say certain parts of their families, this saying the ones who know what I'm talking about. Do you think they're going to sit there and have the back of American blacks, or you think they're going to sit there and have the backs of some of their families that break border immigration laws? You ask that, come on now, that's logical common sense. And many American blacks overall don't even understand that kind of tactic that they're doing. And then you sit there and bring in what they call, what is it? I forgot what it's called. Chain migration, right? A very vile tactic. Right, somebody breaks border immigration laws, or they have a family member that utilize certain things in the system, or maybe they had citizenship for however different ways, right? But at the same time, they're able to sit there and try to get other family members that might be from a different other country, other types of immediate family, to sit there, and they can sit there and try to sponsor them to get chain migration to bring in different parts of immediate family. And that list goes on and on and on of bringing other different family members who then bring in other different extended family members. It's called chain migration. And it keeps going. It's a vile game that many American blacks don't even realize what's going on. But they're going to feel it. And unfortunately, some will slide through the cracks. And quite a number of American blacks won't feel it directly because they'll be too busy thinking that, are not understanding, just as that sun rises and it falls, just like that moon goes through the different phases, right? So shall numbers of black American blacks get old. Now, unfortunately, some would have had a life a little bit shorter, but I'm saying overall, they would get older. So then what is important then? Because when the time comes, right, well, that's a different topic in itself. That's a whole different topic in itself on that, about what's really important. So I'm sitting there saying to you that this illegal immigration border breaking agenda is very vile. It's very vile. And then allowing many American blacks, allowing people to put them in people of color minority status. That's very vile and disgusting on that, because many other cultures will not allow somebody to play that kind of game with them. They won't allow that. So my thing about it is I wanted to show something here, or not show something, relay something over real fast. Okay, let me just talk about that. I was talking about the Immigration Act before. 1986 Immigration Nationality Act. Was supposed to be about tightening up on illegal immigration. You know, and a couple of generations later, this same atrocious mental game is still going on right now. Right? Let me read you something for a second. Enforcement of the immigration laws of the United States. The immigration laws of the United States should be enforced vigorously and uniformly. That's one of the parts of the section of that. Right? The immigration laws of the United States should be enforced vigorously and uniformly. So, man, this is ridiculous. Because it's so obvious what people are doing, and what it should be obvious, and they're going to use, again, border breaking illegal immigration personnel to finish the American blacks overall. And they're not going to see what has happened to them within half a generation to one generation. Because in finishing on this show, as I said earlier part of the show, the three major demographics in this country for generations was category-wise white, black, and what we have been taught is called Native Americans. American blacks were the second largest population for generations, right? And then the third is what we call Native Americans. And the first would have been obviously on the category of white. Now it's whites on the category of white, which is another subsection, right? Non-Latino white, non-Latino whites. That's a whole different conversation piece in itself. A whole different little play game in itself on that one. And second population now, as around the beginning parts of the 21st century, plus or minus, the beginning part of the 21st century to around 2000, plus or minus, unfortunately, the American blacks, they were the second largest population before that, and then fell to the third largest population. That is demographical onslaught happening. And then the fourth is Asian demographics. And since the numbers of Asian personnel, I don't even like even using that word, just saying Asian, just like Hispanic, because that's very broad. But on this category, in this supremacist system, however on that, right? Because numbers of Asian personnel have more businesses than American blacks. Numbers of Hispanic personnel make money than black folks in different parts, business and stuff like that. And you still got numbers of American blacks still trying to help other different cultures first. So again, I relate this over an historical timepiece because I see what's happening, right? Because again, the American blacks being the most oppressed, being the most discriminated against, being the most hated group in this country, even though the American blacks, no one compares to the American black achievements to go through what they have been through and still now, the magnificence of black achievements, there is no comparison. There's no comparison of who helped build this country more than other different people. There's no comparison in a type of destruction going toward or have been going toward American blacks who still built a lot of parts within the United States. There is no other comparisons like that to go through what American blacks and still was able to help build this country off of free labor. So go ahead and show all these illegal immigration, border breaking illegal immigration personnel were sitting there brought to the Americas from different countries and across the border in different places like that to work for free for generations. And they were breaking up their families for generations, selling them out, selling border breaking illegal immigration personnel free of charge to other different places. Huh? Because there's no such thing. So that's what makes it even more disgusting. There is no comparison to someone who's breaking border immigration laws to a people who were brought over from the great continent of Kabbalah or Africa, and a person that who were already here being original Aboriginal Native blacks, which is a different topic in itself. But border breaking illegal immigration personnel just bypass a lot of stuff. And think about how this for a second, how the discussing of it, right? You got border breaking illegal immigration personnel and their entities or entities in general like that, right? That want to just allow border breaking illegal immigration personnel to just skip the line, right? People who are from different other countries, different other places, who sit there and did it the right way, put it in the right paperwork, paying a fee or getting exempted from the fee, but they still put in the correct paperwork. May wait 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, whatever it might be. They're waiting in line for their correct way of trying to get legal status to the United States. Do it the right way. But you got people that want to, that's breaking, border breaking illegal immigration, border breaking illegal immigration, right? Breaking immigration laws to skip past people. Do you see how you see the violence of that? And they're being rewarded for breaking border immigration laws. Woo, my goodness. Let me read you from something called the White Man's Bible, 1981, because this cannot be said enough either. It's called the White Man's Bible, 1981. N-word or N-word. We use the term N-word deliberately in this book and recommend its usage in general conversation. As we have stated in a previous chapter, the second dumbest creature on the face of the earth is one who can't or won't recognize his enemies. And the dumbest of all is that creature which will actively collaborate with his enemies for the destruction of his own race. I can't tell you anything else. The American blacks only have overall half a generation to one generation left. I stand by what I say on this. The American blacks overall are basically finished. The demographical onslaught is almost finished and upon the American blacks overall within half a generation to one generation left. It is going to happen. For a category of, we say, American blacks that again have been the most hated, the most discriminated against, the most oppressed, the most used free labor ever within the country of the United States, and to still get no reparations is vile. But various type of political people who know who they are and other entities make sure to get however laws, policies for others. And also however numbers of programs and other entities making sure to sit there and get however funding to help out border breaking illegal immigration personnel with free resources. I'm just relaying logical analysis. Half a generation to one generation left for the American black survival. It's not going past one generation. It is not going to happen. I stand by what I say. It's not going to go past a generation at all. Because how do you go from white, black, and Native American in categories of demographics, and still now from American white, now what we want to call, or white in general, to second largest population, now Hispanics, then third blacks, and then fourth Asians. So American blacks went from second demographics without no reparations, still continuous hatred, still not being treated equally, still not getting equal type of education, et cetera, are the number one anti-racial group. So the number one group that's had more racial criminality against them is the American black. You look at crime statistics, the number one racial group has had more anti against them related to race is American black, but still can't get no reparations. That's the insult. That's the insult. So I hope that numbers of American blacks, I guess they're going to get with, individual American blacks that they feel comfortable with, and just to pass down information and knowledge, because that's all it's going to boil down to it on that, because it's not going to go past half a generation to one generation. It's an unfortunate topic on itself, but I just had to do an illegal immigration border breaking show as an historical timepiece, because I say again, it's not about if, it is when supremacists will sit there and pull the magic wand to make sure to grant millions of border breaking illegal immigration personnel legal status. It is going to happen. It's going to happen. But at the same time, the same way of helping illegal immigration personnel out, that people don't want to sit there and give reparations to the American blacks overall. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show. Thank you.